Hello everybody and welcome back to Horror Month. For the month of October, every video I make will be focused around a different horror game. Last week, we took a look at the Outlast trials and discussed how well the formula works in multiplayer and how it affects the fear factor. So make sure to go check that out after this video of course. But today, we're taking a look at Still Wakes the Deep, where you must attempt to escape an oil rig in the middle of nowhere, as a tentacled monster tries its best to stop you from doing so. So, let's get started with the story. The game's story revolves around Kaz, an oil rig worker who finds himself isolated and fighting for survival after a catastrophic event leaves the rig inhabited by a tentacle-like creature. The rig becomes increasingly dangerous as supernatural elements start to emerge, forcing Kaz to navigate through the crumbling structure whilst uncovering the secrets hidden within. Central to the game is the overwhelming sense of isolation. The setting of an oil rig, inherently a lonely and perilous place, amplifies the fear of being cut off from the world. This isolation is not just physical but emotional, as Kaz must confront his deepest fears all alone. As the story progresses, Kaz's reasons for being on the oil rig in the first place begin to emerge. He faces a troubled life at home for reasons we won't go fully into due to spoilers, but he has a fractured relationship with his wife, and for other reasons believes that the best way to save that marriage is to go and work on the oil rig. His personal issues with his relationship are mirrored in the grander themes of the story. The game subtly critiques the impact of industrialisation on nature. The oil rig, a symbol of human encroachment on the natural world, becomes the stage for nature's violent and supernatural pushback. This theme resonates with broader environmental concerns, particularly relevant in the context of Scotland's oil boom during the 1970s. The setting and atmosphere of the game are deeply rooted in Scottish culture. The North Sea, with its unforgiving weather and treacherous waters, plays a crucial role in establishing the mood. The rig's isolation echoes the rugged, often desolate landscapes of the Scottish Highlands. Additionally, the game's narrative and aesthetic reflects a strong sense of place, capturing tension between Scotland's natural beauty and the harsh realities of industrial life. The influence of Scotland is pervasive throughout the game, from the brooding, storm-lashed seas to the rig's architecture, which mirrors the stark functional design of 1970s industrial structures common in Scotland. The historical context of the North Sea oil boom, which transformed Scotland's economy and landscape, provides a rich backdrop for the game's narrative. The game also incorporates elements of Scottish folklore and superstition, weaving them into the supernatural occurrences on the rig. This connection to Scottish culture and mythology adds depth to the horror elements, making them feel more grounded and resonant with the setting. It's the sort of thing a lot of people wouldn't really notice or care for, but if you're playing this as a Scottish person, I would imagine you'd be quite impressed. One of the standout aspects of Still Wakes the Deep though, is its voice acting, which is integral to its immersive storytelling. Kaz's voice actor, Alec Newman, delivers a voice performance that's particularly notable for its authenticity and emotional range. The voice acting captures the subtle nuances of Scottish dialects, adding a layer of realism and cultural specificity to the game. This authenticity helps to deepen your connection to Kaz and enhances the overall sense of place. The voice actors effectively convey the mounting tension and fear, making the supernatural elements much more impactful.
Could you not just eat some fucking jam or something?
Oh, bloody hell, the man's a medical genius. I'll get on the blower to Dr. fucking Spock and tell him not to panic. We've solved diabetes here.
It's fucking McCoy. No Spock. He was the point-eared cunt.
The use of voice to build atmosphere is complemented by the sound design, which uses environmental cues like the creaking of the rig and the howling wind to heighten that sense of dread. I don't want to talk too much about the story here because this game isn't very long. It's a 4 or 5 hour long game and it's very story focused, so we are pretty much going to leave it at that, but I wanted to just make a quick note that my only real complaint about the story is that I wish we got to spend more time with the other members of the crew. It's a harrowing tale of watching your friends drop like flies, and I think if we got to spend a bit more time with them, then all of these moments would be more impactful. The introduction does a brilliant job of establishing each character's relationship with Kaz and letting us view the classic Scottish banter firsthand. but once things start to go wrong, we don't get many other moments like this, and I really wish we did. Still Wakes the Deep has a great story at its core, and this story is only improved further by how well they delve into cosmic horror. If you're unaware, cosmic horror is a subgenre of horror that emphasises the insignificance of humanity in the grand scheme of the universe. It often involves themes of existential dread, the unknown, and the unknowable. Unlike traditional horror, which might focus on tangible threats like monsters or serial killers, cosmic horror deals with the idea that there are forces and entities beyond human comprehension that shatter the sanity of those who perceive them. Still Wakes the Deep effectively employs cosmic horror by placing you in a situation where you must confront forces far beyond human understanding. The game's setting, a desolate, isolated oil rig in the North Sea, already aligns with the cosmic horror theme of insignificance. The vastness of the ocean, coupled with the isolation of the rig, creates a sense of vulnerability and powerlessness. As the game progresses, the supernatural elements that we encounter are shrouded in mystery and defy explanation. These phenomena are not just frightening because they are dangerous, but because they are incomprehensible. You're left grasping for answers in a situation where none are forthcoming, which is a hallmark of the subgenre. The narrative fosters a deep sense of existential dread. Your struggle is not just against physical threats, but against the realisation that you are a small, insignificant part of a much larger, terrifying reality. The game's story implies that the events unfolding on the rig are part of something ancient and cosmic, something that has always been there, lurking just out of sight and ready to consume any who come too close. As you navigate the rig, the line between reality and hallucination begins to blur. This psychological aspect is crucial to cosmic horror, as it shows the mind's inability to process what it is experiencing. The game captures this through environmental storytelling and sound design, creating an atmosphere where you constantly question what is real and what is not. The descent into madness is slow and insidious, mirroring the way that cosmic horror often portrays the collapse of sanity in the face of the incomprehensible. Still Wakes the Deep excels in its use of cosmic horror, creating a narrative that is deeply unsettling and reflective of the game's core themes. By immersing you in an environment where the unknown is not just a threat but a fundamental aspect of reality, the game captures the essence of cosmic horror. Kaz's isolation, the unknowable nature of the forces at play, the creeping existential dread, and the fragility of sanity all contribute to a haunting experience that lingers long after the game is over.
Hi everyone, this is me. Look how cool I am.
Just wanted to take a 20-second break from the video to say that if you're enjoying the content, then to please check out some of the other videos on the channel if they look interesting to you. You'll be doing yourself a favour if you really think about it. I even have a playlist with some of my best videos, so they're easy viewing. Thanks guys, back to the video. The gameplay of Still Wakes the Deep is designed with simplicity in mind, which is a hallmark of many narrative-driven horror games. This simplicity is intentional, allowing the focus to remain on atmosphere, storytelling and emotional impact rather than on complex mechanics or fast-paced action. The main criticism I have seen many people give Still Wakes the Deep is that the gameplay is far too simple and that it felt a bit like a walking simulator, but whilst these critiques are true, I feel it is unfair to use this stick to beat the game with, considering it wasn't trying to do any of that in the first place. I firmly believe that Still Wakes the Deep is the perfect first horror game. If someone were interested in getting into horror games but didn't want to throw themselves into the deep end with something like Amnesia, then this game is literally perfect for them. The game is extremely on rails, with almost zero exploration. The scary sections are trimmed down encounters, segmented by lengthy walking sequences where you're completely safe from danger. It gives you the atmosphere of the genre, but tones down the scares. The game preliminary involves environmental interaction and puzzle solving, with occasional moments of stealth or evasion. These mechanics are straightforward, ensuring that you can easily grasp the controls and objectives without being overwhelmed. The lack of complex systems or intricate combat mechanics makes the game a lot more approachable. The encounters with enemies boil down to one of two things. Chase encounters, where you run down a corridor or something with an enemy that's chasing you. There's always only one way to go, and it's almost impossible to fail. Then there's stealth, where you must sneak past an enemy and complete an objective. by either being patient and recognising patrol routes, or using objects to distract the enemies. There's no sort of stalker enemy type that follows you around for a while. The game is very clear with when you are in danger and when you aren't. By keeping the gameplay simple, the developers ensure that the story and atmosphere remain front and centre. This is a game where the developers had a story to tell and they did everything they could to ensure that you experienced it exactly how they imagined you doing so. You're encouraged to absorb the setting, listen to the dialogue, and engage with the environment at a measured pace. This approach allows the narrative to unfold naturally, with you feeling more like a participant in a story rather than just a player in a game. While Still Waits the Deep is undoubtedly a horror game, the horror elements are more psychological and atmospheric rather than overtly terrifying. The game relies on building tension and creating a sense of unease rather than bombarding you with constant jump scares or grotesque imagery. This approach appeals to players who appreciate the mood and suspense of horror without wanting to be overwhelmed by fear. The horror is more about what is implied or unseen, which can be unsettling for sure, but less intense than in more traditional horror games. The horror of Still Waits the Deep builds slowly, giving you time to acclimate to the atmosphere before things escalate. This gradual approach helps maintain a balance where the game is suspenseful but not too scary, making it more palatable for those who may not be fans of intense horror experiences. The simplicity of gameplay in Still Waits the Deep plays a crucial role in making the game more accessible, focusing on atmosphere and narrative rather than complex mechanics or intense action. The diluted horror elements further enhance accessibility, offering a suspenseful and eerie experience without overwhelming players with fear. This combination makes the game appealing to much broader audiences, including those who may not typically engage with horror games, but want to experience a pretty damn good story. I really enjoy Still Waits the Deep. I've played much better horror games, I've played much scarier horror games, but I have seldom played many horror games with a story as good as this one that explores its subgenre of horror as well as this does with Cosmic. Still Waits the Deep is a good game. I can recommend it if it's on sale or a subscription service, because I think it is still too high priced for a game that does what it does with the length that it has. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope that you did enjoy it. Remember, this is spooky season, it's October, it's horror month. I did Outlast last week. Next week, we're doing another one. No spoilers. The week after that, we're doing another one. No spoilers. So if you want to see those, make sure you subscribe, because otherwise, how will you know when they're uploaded? They'll be coming every Monday, but for now, that is all. Like this video. Thank you. Goodbye.
Jesus fucking...